guys, welcome to Law Media. My name is Sarah Clayton and I'm going to be your host today. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about the vaccine for the coronavirus. Right now we have about 2.7 million people that are currently infected with this new coronavirus, also called Covid-19. Covid-19 is actually the condition that is caused by the virus. You can actually catch the virus and not develop COVID-19. So right now we have scientists, researchers, doctors all over the world, and we have about 100 possible candidates for a vaccine. So the vaccine is going to be distributed when it's ready in two different versions. We will have a quick version and we will have the extended version. The quick version, which is going to be the emergency use vaccine, is to be used for healthcare workers, people that are essential workers, people that are working on the front line, people that have a constant contact with the virus and they have multiple exposures. This variation is expected to be this variation is expected to be available as early as later on this year, maybe in September. So that's going to be the emergency use vaccine. The next vaccine is the general purpose vaccine, and this vaccine can be used by everybody worldwide. This one will take a little bit longer. This vaccine currently is being tested and it's in human trials. However, we have a couple of problems. As you know, the coronavirus, it doesn't just cause COVID-19. We have, I would say, about 4 coronaviruses that we know of, and those coronaviruses cause diseases and conditions like the current cold, the everyday cold that everybody gets. It also causes a condition called SARS, which is a severe acute respiratory syndrome, and there's another one called MERS. And so far, since we knew of these diseases in the 1960s, since the 1960s, we have not been able to develop any vaccine for the coronavirus. We have not been able to develop a vaccine for the common cold. We have not been able to develop a vaccine for SARS. And usually it takes about 4 years tops it takes at least 4 years for a vaccine to be created. The quickest vaccine that was created was the mumps vaccine, and that one was done in 4 years. So we have the two vaccines. We have our emergency use, that's going to be for our healthcare workers, and we have our general use, which is for people like me and you, or people that aren't on the front line and that will not be having several exposures to the virus. So to test the vaccine, we go ahead and we do it in stages. First, once the vaccine is developed in a lab, they go ahead and say, okay, this is ready for clinical testing. Clinical testing is what we know as human trials. Clinical trials, human trials, the words are pretty synonymous. And it's done in 3 phases. Their very first phase is, of course, called phase 1, but the very first phase is where they have very few people, less than 100 human beings, and these people are volunteers, and this is called the safety. Let me just go ahead and scroll down for you guys. Okay, this is called the safety trial. This is where we make sure that there are no strong adverse reactions. We make sure that the drug is able to induce a immune response in human beings, and we want to observe debilitating side effects. So once it gets past phase 1, there are no extreme side effects. It does work. We go into phase 2, and that's when the vaccine for the disease is given to around 100 to 300 people. They are doing this to determine the biological activity. They're seeing if this actually works to defend off the coronavirus. And then we enter into phase 3. This phase is very much like phase 2. In this phase, we have thousands of participants. And again, we are testing and observing to see if the drugs are effective. So each of these stages takes about 3 to 6 months. So when they say the emergency use vaccine is going to be ready in the fall, that means clearly they're going to have to either skip some steps or do some steps simultaneously, meaning they may be working in phase 1 and also be testing in phase 3. Sorry about this, guys. So usually it takes about 5 to 10 years to study a vaccine, and our vaccine, or the vaccines that they're currently developing, some of them are in clinical trials. We have the vaccine by Oxford University, and they made this vaccine from chimpanzees, and they currently went into clinical testing this week. We also have our American company, the Pfizer company, and we have about 4 potential vaccines, and we're going to begin, or Americans are going to begin testing these vaccines within weeks. And then Johnson & Johnson has began testing their vaccines, and in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, they're going to be moving into the clinical trials. So, do we know if these vaccines are going to work and for how long? Since we aren't going to be able to test these vaccines and measure them for 5 to 10 years, it's very possible that some of these vaccines will wear off after 1 or 2 years. It's also very possible that even if we do find a vaccine, that it will not work. Although we do have all of these phases and we have all these tests, we've never been able to find a cure for the coronavirus so far. We haven't been able to find a vaccine. We haven't been able to find a vaccine for the common cold. We haven't been able to find a vaccine for SARS. So, although we're saying that a vaccine is soon to come, it's very possible that if they do develop one, it may be only for emergency workers. And when they develop a second one, it may be the case that it's only effective for a year or 2. So, this is a quick wrap up. Thank you guys so much. Please follow us on Instagram. My Instagram is Law Media Inc. And we are also on Twitter, Law Media Inc. 1. And also look for me on Facebook. Please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Thank you so much for tuning in.